Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert, and I've spent my career immersed in modern hospitality operations. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you, the students of Europe Hotel School, to your online learning journey. In the really fast-paced world of hospitality, what really separates a good hotel from a truly great one? Well, it often comes down to what's happening behind the scenes. Today, we're going to dive deep into corporate governance, that essential framework that really ensures both excellence and integrity. Let's get started. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the very foundation of governance, look at its structure and key principles, see how it all plays out in the real world, and finally, talk about why this is an ongoing commitment, not just a one-time fix. All right, let's jump right in. If you want to build any successful hotel organization, you absolutely have to start with a solid foundation. And in our world, that foundation is corporate governance. So, what is corporate governance, really? Well, at its core, you can think of it as the blueprint for how a company is managed at the absolute highest level. This isn't just a set of vague suggestions. It is the essential framework that makes accountability, transparency, and ethical behavior possible throughout the entire organization. Okay, so that naturally leads to the big question. Why does this matter so much specifically in the hotel industry? I mean, it's important for any business, of course, but it has a really unique and critical role in the dynamic, people-first world of hospitality. Well, the hospitality industry deals with a very unique set of risks. Just think about it. Hotels are processing enormous amounts of cash and digital payments every single day. You've got these complex revenue streams coming from rooms, food and beverage, events, you name it. On top of that, decision-making is often spread out across many departments and even multiple properties. Now, without a strong governance framework in place, these aren't just operational challenges. They become significant opportunities for fraud and inconsistency. So, how do we use governance to tackle these risks? It all starts by setting up a crystal clear chain of command. This clarifies who is authority and, just as importantly, who is responsible for what. This hierarchy pretty much always flows from the top down. It all begins with the owners and the board of directors. They're the ones setting the strategic vision. That vision then gets handed to the executive leadership to execute, and it's monitored and managed by various senior committees, like an audit or risk committee. Now, the whole point of the structure isn't to create a bunch of red tape or bureaucracy. No, it's about creating a system of checks and balances. The entire purpose is to make absolutely sure that no single person or small group can make critical decisions, especially financial ones, without proper review and accountability. Let's dig into the three core principles that really support this entire framework. You can think of these as the pillars holding up the whole structure of good governance. Our first pillar is oversight, and let me be clear, this is not a passive thing. It's the active, ongoing process of monitoring, reviewing, and guiding the organization's performance and its exposure to risk. And this slide really shows what oversight looks like in a real hotel setting. We're talking about the board formally reviewing financial statements, the audit committee meeting regularly to really scrutinize the numbers, and having clear reports on compliance. But, most importantly, effective oversight requires a culture where leaders are actually willing to challenge assumptions and ask those tough questions. Okay, let's move on to our second pillar, transparency. This one is all about building trust, which is absolutely essential for any kind of long-term success. Transparency really just comes down to clear and honest communication. When you share financial and operational information openly, it builds an incredible amount of trust with everyone, from your investors all the way to your frontline staff. It also makes it a lot harder for any kind of fraud to stay hidden. And this goes way beyond just mandatory reports. It's about creating a culture where expectations are clear to absolutely everyone. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important pillar, the ethical culture. Now, this is not something that just happens by accident. It has to be deliberately shaped and constantly reinforced by the governance structure itself. An organization's true values are expressed through its policies. Things like clear rules on conflicts of interest, strict guidelines on accepting gifts, and fair, standardized ways of buying supplies. These are the tangible signs of a real commitment to integrity. But listen, policies are just words on paper unless they're championed and consistently enforced from the very top. Okay, so we've got the principles down, but how do they actually work in the complex reality of a hotel group? One that might be operating across different regions, maybe even different countries. This is where it gets really interesting, because it's all about finding the right balance. Effective governance in a big hospitality organization is a delicate balancing act. On one side, you need those centralized policies to ensure your brand is consistent and you have control. But on the other, you need local flexibility to adapt to different markets and regulations. You have to empower local managers to make smart decisions on the ground. So what's the bridge between these two sides, the central control and the local action? It's communication. Clear reporting lines and really well-defined escalation procedures are absolutely vital. They make sure that a critical issue that pops up at a single property doesn't just get stuck there. It gets addressed at the corporate level where it needs to be. Finally, and this is a really crucial takeaway, strong governance is not a project with an end date. It's a continuous journey of improvement and adaptation. This quote from your very own institution, Europe Hotel School London, just captures the idea perfectly. Governance is so much more than just ticking boxes for compliance. It is an active, ongoing commitment to being ethical stewards and responsible managers of the business. So the ultimate point here is this. The business world is always changing, and so are the risks we face. A governance framework that worked great 5 years ago might be completely inadequate today. That's why it has to be a living, breathing process, one that evolves and adapts right alongside the organization itself. So we'll end with a question for you to really think about as you move forward in your careers. Governance isn't just a topic for the boardroom, it's the responsibility of every single leader. So, as a future leader in hospitality, how will you personally champion and build a culture of integrity within your organization?